Okay, we're here. Yay! We have founding guest AshleyBaer on. I love that. Anyways, yes, I'm patting myself on the back. No, I'm kidding. So here we are. We have Ashley back. We're going to talk about Yoga Nidra, but first we're going to do our little free writing exercise. So Elizabeth, and this is Maddox. He's a founding co-host here. He's moaning. But yes. So Ashley, you're the guest, so you get to go first.
Well, let's level set the free writing exercise. So
excuse me?
I said let's level set the free writing exercise. So we each took a moment to write, just stream of consciousness writing, and we are not going to critique or comment or say great job or terrible job. Like, we're just here to hold space and support each other in the writing, and we can talk about the concepts, but it's not to like, yay, you're a great writer.
Yeah. So, well, I'm not a great writer, but I wrote a poem, 4-line poem about, well, I'll read it. Am I just reading it?
Yep.
Okay. From spring to fall, a little bird I see, so light and green, he watches me from the tree. I hold him gently in my hand until the time comes to set him free. Oh, how I miss thee.
So what does the bird signify to you?
Well, it's a literal bird that comes here, which is a hummingbird that comes every year, and I do hold him and play with him, and then he goes away, and I get really sad. But I do have birds tattooed on me, which I didn't really intentionally do, and then I was getting one, and the tattoo artist said, "You have a lot of flying things on you," and I was like, "Oh, I do." I think it's freedom. I want to fly. I'm Aquarius. If you know anything or you know an Aquarius, it's all about freedom. So
don't fence me in.
Don't fence me in. Don't put chains on me. Like, that's all I really care about. I must be free in all areas of life.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. And that hummingbird you had on your Instagram, right?
Yeah. Yes, if you follow me, you see me. I'm always like showing him and playing with him.
Yeah, does he like literally get in your hand?
He does. He comes in my house. He comes to the bedrooms in the back. If I'm not out on the balcony, which I tend to be a lot when it's warm, he will come to the window and look in, like he's figured out where I am. They're very smart, and he'll look in the window to kind of like, where are you? And so then I'll come out. Like, it's kind of like, come play. And then I have them, I'm a bird nerd. I have them try. Like, they come the first week of April, and then they leave the first week of October. So, I get sad not seeing them. But
I love my hummingbirds. I was looking at the migration map just this weekend. Like, we're getting close. They're going to be here soon.
Yes, about a month.
Yep.
Very cool. I can't wait. I have my hummingbird feeders now, and I'm ready.
Yeah, you got to put them up a couple weeks, like mid-March, just for any early birds that come by.
Support the travelers.
Yes, the ones who go north.
I'm glad
I had to toss all my feeders last year because they were just kind of wearing out. So this year I have to get new feeders.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
I am worried. We're doing a 2-week trip at the end of April, and I've been like, the first thing I thought was like, my hummingbirds, who's going to feed them?
Where you live.
It's okay.
Maddox like, I will.
Yeah, with my tongue. No. All right, Elizabeth, you want to go next?
My turn? All right. I can't read my writing. I must have been a little manic this morning. I feel pulled by all the various commitments. I feel that I'm continuously prioritizing and trying to figure out what's next. Going into the new year, I want to be intentional about where I'm putting my focus. So far, so good. I'm carving out time to think.
Thank you.
I am looking at my initiatives and making sure that they tie back to my priorities. I'm being curious about why these are the ones that keep bubbling to the top. I'm talking with the people who depend on me to understand how our priorities align, and I'm thinking about what matters the most to me.
And does this stem back to your clarity and like what your momentum going into how you want this year to go and everything?
Absolutely. It was kind of trying to tie back to my word of the year is clarity. Am I staying intentional about that? And am I focused in the places I want to be focused?
Sweet.
And even with I think it's one of those things, right? If you pray for peace, you get all kinds of tests around how peaceful you are. Like I've named clarity, and so I'm getting pulled in all the directions, and I'm getting tested on like, can I do this? How do I do this? Where am I focused? So I'm just walking the walk and doing the work right now.
Love it. Do you want to go? Are you ready?
No, you go.
Me? Okay. All right. I was going to go last because mine is super weird. Anyway, I am fucking cold. There, I said it. So now it can be warm. Not hot, please. Universe, help me out here. Can we have another pre-spring warm-up, like a progressive one, please? That's what I wrote. Obviously, we don't even have to talk about it. It all makes sense here. Except
so
now.
So have you been cold?
Yeah.
You tell. Actually, and of course, now that I wrote that in this room here, it's a bit warm. So I'll be taking off.
There you go.
That's
how it works, right?
Yeah. It was fast. All right. Sorry. So you go ahead.
Okay. I wrote Edgar Allan Tolle, like Eckhart Tolle, Edgar Allan Tolle. You have to think inside their squares to think outside of their boxes to comprehend the full circle.
Wow.
Yeah.
A thought provoker.
Yeah, I guess. I don't really know
Love
what it
it.
means. Just free writing. Here you go.
Oh, hi. We have our founding co-host back. He's not in the camera right now. Okay. So now that we got that, I want to stick with the time frame.
Great.
So let's go ahead and get into it. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm yelling because you're so far away in this room, but I have a microphone on. I do this all the time. Okay. So
I don't hear you yelling. So
okay.
No.
Thank the Lord. Okay. So we're going to talk about Yoga Nidra. Let's talk about this first. Yoga Nidra, like tomato, does it matter?
I think it's supposed to be Nidra.
Okay.
Do I say it Nidra? Yes. So I think it's tomato.
Okay. Because
I hear it both.
I flip it back and forth. I'm like, do I say Nidra? No, sometimes I say Nidra. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm just going to let it, however it comes out of my mouth.
Yogic sleep.
The wakeful sleep. So if I have never done any type of yoga before, how would you explain to me what happens in a Yoga Nidra session?
It's sleeping yoga.
And that literally hooks people every time, I swear.
Yeah.
I love it.
They don't have to do anything.
Is
but
it the,
receive. It's like, I call it guided relaxation because sometimes I think people might get freaked out. Like, what is it by the name? Like people who maybe aren't experienced in yoga. So I'll call it guided relaxation or like a guided meditation, although it's really deeper than that. But it's a very healing, like restorative practice, but you're lying on your back and you're following directions through like 5 different like levels, kind of taking you through. I mean, I can go like really deep on it, but like taking you through just levels.
And then that's kind of what happens, and people kind of come in and out of their sleep,
Conscious.
I guess. Yes.
Yeah. Like it's like putting you between awake and asleep.
Very
You're
cool.
in the middle. And you may go to sleep, but in theory, you're supposed to stay awake.
Okay. Sometimes I snore. No.
A lot of people do. A lot of people go to sleep, which I don't think it's a bad thing. If you got that relaxed, you needed to sleep. So
Yeah, I think so
do it
too.
at work for people like weekly, but then I do it, in my yoga class.
I forgot to put this on there, but is it, if you do an hour yoga nidra session, is that equivalent to like a certain amount of hours?
Yeah. 1 hour is 4 hours of sleep.
Wow.
And
Okay.
typically I do about 30 minutes. You're getting like a 2-hour rest. And it's a deeper rest than what you would get sleeping.
So where does that stat come from? Like, what's the neuroscience behind that?
It's from a book.
Okay.
It's basically because it's putting you in, this is the best I can explain it. It's allowing your brain to access delta waves, which we don't access unless you're asleep. So like theta waves are like meditation, but delta is yoga nidra. It's specific. And so we really only access them when we're asleep. And it's like the restorative and healing practice because you're in delta, but you're awake. So you're able to access them while you're awake. And so it's like activating, what's the gland? I'm spacing on the name. Pineal. It's activating that, which is releasing melatonin. And so really it's the reparative, like, process that we go through when we're sleeping, but often we may not get there because of like bad sleep. So really it's putting you in those delta waves. So that's why it's so restorative. And I can't really like line up. I don't know why the numbers are what they are, but that's just what I've read. That like you can totally feel like you've slept.
It does feel like that.
Feel rested.
All right. Next question. Is yoga nidra safe for all?
I mean, yes, but I mean, typically I've done it on so many people. I've done it on children. I've done it on like 80-something-year-olds. The only ones I would say no is if like you're actively triggered.
Okay.
Like you would not want to like lay down and like try to do yoga nidra, like someone who's in some sort of state, or like maybe a pretty severe mental health, like not anxiety, depression, but more like schizophrenia or something where maybe you're in an altered state, or like probably, I don't know, somebody on drugs, like those kind of things. Because,
Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it then. Like extreme states of the mind, I guess.
Okay.
I can say I used to do it with my son. We probably started when he was 12, 13 months old, and he loved it. Like, just loved it.
Kids love
And
it.
he would walk his, he had a favorite T-Rex stuffed animal. And I remember he'd be like, relax your claws, relax your feet, relax your scales, relax your super sharp tail.
I love that.
That is so cute.
That's really cute.
All right. What does one need to bring to a yoga nidra session?
That's a funny question. When people come to my class, it looks like we're having a sleepover. They've got like 2 blankets. You want to cover with a blanket because your blood pressure will drop and you might get cold. And then usually one for under the head. So 2 blankets, an eye pillow to go over to block out light and help you relax, and bolster or pillow for under the knees. So that lying, because you're typically in Shavasana or resting pose, so you want to like release the low back. I mean, I've seen people, there's a lady that comes and she puts like one of those weighted blankets, kind of, it's more like a mat, but she puts that on her during Yoga Nidra. So yeah, eye pillows, blankets, bolsters, you're setting yourself up to be comfortable.
Sweet.
No watches, no alarms.
Yeah. No phones.
Yeah, I had a phone go off once. It was the sound of a horse, like neighing, and we were out at a farm, so I literally thought a horse was running through. It sounded so real. Realized it was someone's phone.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh, I probably would have had to stop and be like, what in the world?
It can distract me. Yeah, I was like, I thought a horse was about to run through this like barn.
I wonder if the person like decided not to get up and shut the phone off. They're like, I don't want to be the one.
I think it kept going a little bit. I can't remember. I mean, it happens sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, I try to remember to remind people like shut off any beeping things because people all have it on their watches now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's a lot to disconnect from, for sure.
Well, and even if it's not beeping where it disturbs everyone else, if you have the haptic tapping, it's going to keep jerking you out of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have to like stay focused or I mess up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like a meditation for me. Just because I'm having to like, I can't look up or do anything.
Well,
I'll say something wrong.
That kind of leads into the next question. We kind of already talked about the next question, which was, how has it been a challenge in leading? Like, how has there been a challenge, or has there been a challenge in leading a yoga session? I mean, a yoga nidra session. So like that kind of phones ringing, dings from watches.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in yoga nidra. So I've noticed there's like a coughing thing. A lot of people will start coughing.
Yeah.
And so that's always like a friend of mine who we work together will kind of look at each other like, here comes the coughing. And I have like theories about what that is and why it starts. Like they won't be coughing all class, in a certain part, like coughing begins. When people come that don't want to be there. So like I did at Village Yoga, the old studio, a mother brought her teenage daughter who clearly did not want to be there and was starting to sob. And like, this was like an event.
Oh,
like, hopefully she's not watching this. And anyway, and the mom wasn't disturbed at all, but it was distracting me from being able to do it. And finally, like, she's like looking and I'm like this, trying to give her, because everyone else is on their back with eyeballs. She's sitting up and staring at me. And she's like 16 and clearly her mom dragged her there and made her come and she didn't know what the heck we were doing. And so I do like this and I pointed to the bathroom and she got up and went to the bathroom. Just like, go take care of yourself, because we had that little room back there.
yeah.
And I can't remember if she hung out, but you know, things like that. Every once in a while I have someone like crying, which
that makes sense.
doesn't always disturb me, but you know, sometimes I get worried if other people are going to get disturbed. Or snoring doesn't bother me. Sometimes it's like an orchestra of snoring, but people have asked me like, can you stop so-and-so from, I'm like, I can't stop the snoring. I'm trying to think what else. Well, a couple of weeks ago, someone brought a kid and I had a big class. Like there were like 17 people in there and I was like, eh. And it was a little boy, 8-ish, and he was kind of running around. So I sent him out to the greenhouse and then I was doing a sound bath actually too. So I showed him the sound and I was like trying to tell him what we were going to do. And he was like, okay. I mean, he was an angel, did the whole thing. No problem. Wow. But at first I was nervous. Like when people like bring like a child to an event where you know, they may have to be quiet and you don't know if the kid can manage that. But he did great. And he came up, he was like, that was my first yoga class. And I was like,
Oh,
well, you did so great. Like, I was so impressed. Let me think what else. Crying, snoring, teenagers who don't want to be there, you know, alarms. People can sometimes have a hard time settling like down. So
yeah.
like I'm kind of watching the people as I'm doing it. I have it pretty much memorized. I've been doing it so long so that I can kind of look during certain parts, and I'm watching what they're doing to determine what I do. So like that's part of it, is looking at what they're doing. So getting them to settle essentially, but usually that happens from the yin first or the yoga first, the movement.
Yeah.
It will help. Like I would never go into Yoga Nidra without a movement practice first.
Oh,
Like
okay.
people aren't ready for it mentally. I was trained by a psychologist how to do it. A lot of people do it without training, but like there's a whole lot to it. Like more than, it's not just like a body scan. It's
Yeah.
way deeper, and you can actually do things that could harm people. Like if you don't know certain things, like you really do need like training for it.
How could you harm people?
Great question. Like, okay, let's say I'm not in a good space.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm in a funk or I'm depressed. Like I had to do it once where I had to not do it. So somebody had died,
Mm.
and not someone, I would say it was someone close to me. It was like in my family, but we had a very contentious, probably the most difficult relationship of my life. And there was a part of me that thought when she would die that like I would be kind of happy, not happy that someone died, but like, okay. But it actually was the opposite. I was so conflicted over it and the way it went down. There were certain things that happened that were like very triggering for me. And it happened the day I'm in a training, and I ended the training every day with Yoga Nidra, like yin and Yoga Nidra. I managed to get through the day of training and get through, and it was kind of a good focus for me. But when I got to the Yoga Nidra, I had to tell them I couldn't do it because if I wasn't in a good place, so basically your state is going into people. And
Oh,
that's why you need training and understanding. Like, so I meditate before I do it to make sure I'm in a good place. And if I'm in any kind of a mood, if anything's going on, I'm not doing Yoga Nidra. So that time I had to say I can't do it because like I was in a place of grief and conflict within me, and like it can go into people's subconscious.
Yeah.
And so he had just told me, don't ever do it if you're not in a good place. And so that was like the one time when I had to go, okay, I need to like not do this, even though they really wanted it. I took them through some movement and breath and just kind of, but I did not do Yoga Nidra. That was the only time I've really had to do that.
I commend you for your authenticity. It can be hard if you have a big class to say no, but knowing that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I'd never been in that kind of situation, and I felt so weird about it. I was like, I didn't want to like have that come into them.
Yeah.
And where did the psychologist who trained you, like what method was he trained in?
What was he? I don't know. He was a doctor, and not a medical doctor, but a doctor psychologist, but he was also a yoga teacher. So I'm not sure of like where he got trained, but I did like, it was like a 3-day intensive of like breaking it down and what it does. And that's probably a question I should have asked him. But he's awesome. He's still around. I mean, he's up in May now, but.
Did you have him? Did I take his class, the level one, the online one?
He used to do it on Dr. Nick Atlas.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
It was back at Village. Hold on one moment.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we did that.
Yeah.
The
So
level
I did
one.
the level one, and it was, I mean, he packed a lot into that. That was really cool. That's
Yeah.
why I'm always so curious still about it. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think there's like a level 2, which I've not done. But a
yeah.
lot of what I've learned from what people tell me. Like during and just a lot of weird stuff happens in Yoga Nidra. People see things,
Mhm.
visions, people have stuff happen to their body. People come up and they'll go, "Is this weird?" And I'm like, nothing you can tell me is weird because I probably heard it all, but they'll be like, in the middle of that, a hand came out and gave me something. And or they'll tell me that like the pain dropped out of their body. Like I had someone who came to every studio I ever taught at to get the Yoga Nidra, and he had fallen out of a building and it was injured, and he had lots of foot surgeries and stuff like that, and he said every time he left my class he could walk without pain. And so he came to the farm, to Village Yoga, when I was in Dahlonega, wherever I was he came until he moved to get it. But people can have like trauma, like if you have trauma, so Yoga Nidra is very healing for trauma. It can kind of pull the trauma out of you without you having to relive it. It just kind of works. And usually how I know that people have traumas, they come up to me after Yoga Nidra and they talk to me about their body, like twitching, or they have a release, like that they don't really know. Like I had an older woman, probably in her 80s, come through with her daughter, brought her. And the daughter brought her up to me after and it's like, she can't stop crying. Like
Oh,
she was just, and my first thought was not so much trauma, but have you moved your body? And she was like, not really. And so I did very gentle movement because I saw her in the class and I was like watching her to make sure she could do everything. But the Yoga Nidra released something and she couldn't stop crying. She was like, is she okay? I'm like, she's fine. Like, it'll be fine. But usually I ask, like, do you have trauma? Because usually it's like releasing it.
I love that. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go. Do you or can you do Yoga Nidra to yourself? If so,
Yes and no. So, like, obviously, when I'm doing it for someone, I'm not in the practice, I'm leading the practice. But sometimes, certain times I've done it, I can feel myself getting lulled in. So it starts kind of working on me, even though I'm not intentionally. But yes, so that's like, no, when I'm doing it, it's not really happening to me, but every once in a while it does. Like I can feel it, kind of like I'll start getting kind of like drifty. So some of it's working on me. But yes, I do it. I have it kind of memorized. So if I wake up at night, I can start doing it. So I laid like I'm asleep, and if I wake up, I start with there's 5 levels of what you're doing. So I start like relaxing myself and like noticing my breath, and I can do the body scan to myself, but it's all mental. Like I'm not saying it, I'm just mentally going through it. And then I do the counting, and then usually I'm asleep again.
very nice. Yeah,
But
I was wondering if if that would help someone go back to sleep if they knew how to teach it. If
yeah,
they
but
could do
you
it to
can
them.
put it on the app, which leads me, I know we talked about that last time, Insight Timer, but I just
Yes.
realized, if anyone's listening, before Wednesday, I'm doing a live through Insight Timer from like my bedroom. I'm going to take people into Yoga Nidra. It's free. So I can kind of go in through the app. So people on the app will see I'm live and can come in.
Oh, on Insight Timer?
On Insight
When?
Timer. So
It's
maybe I can text you the link, and I don't know, maybe you could share it or something. But you may
yeah,
want to.
I'll put it on Instagram. I'll post it tonight with a
So
picture.
people could try it in their own space.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'm trying to pull it up, and then that way, let me see if I can do this. They could do it in their own. Oh, there it is. Let me see. I think I can just, yes. All right, I just texted it to you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So then I'll just.
So that way people could check it out, like from their own space. They can be in bed, like set up and just relax.
Sweet.
So nice.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah. So I'll put this on Instagram tonight.
It's called Yoga Nidra and Relax.
I
Instead of
like it.
Netflix and chill, it's Yoga Nidra and Relax.
All right. Yes, I'll put that on tonight. Okay. La, 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 la. Oh, this was your question. Do you have a Yoga Nidra voice? Do you go through any type of evolution to arrive at this voice?
This is such a funny question. No, like my voice, like I don't particularly find it the way it sounds to me, like relaxing or anything. But even before I ever did meditation or led a meditation, I worked in a school and I had someone who worked with me and she would kind of mimic my voice. And she was like, "Why do you always put that voice on?" And I was like, "That's my voice." And it's like, it's funny because I got teased about it, but like, it's my voice. And no, I don't do anything. It's just, I just start saying it. But people tell me, they're like, I can't listen to another person do Yoga Nidra. Like if they're used to my like cadence, I guess, or the way I do it. But no, I don't do anything.
Yeah, I asked that question because I used to listen to fall asleep to a Nidra teacher named Ayla Nova on Spotify, and I just was thinking, like, did she practice this shit? Because it was so like, and now with Nidra, it was relaxing, but I just always was distracted by like, I wonder what her real voice is like.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much my voice. I mean, I may soften it a little, like it may be louder now than what I would be in Yoga Nidra, but no, I'm not doing or trying anything. It's just like I'm just saying it. But yeah, I've heard people where it's like sometimes it's like, oh no, I can't hear that. Or yeah, so nice. Like you just have to hear what resonates, I guess, like the tone.
Yeah.
But tone's important. I've heard people yell Yoga Nidra, and I'm like,
what? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, they're definitely not falling asleep in that class.
No.
Or maybe
they're releasing a lot of trauma because they're so triggered by the person's voice.
But I think it's a lot of people, I don't know, like I'm a believer as a yoga teacher that you have to meditate and be regulated and calm, whether I'm leading yoga or meditation or Yoga Nidra. Like, and like a friend of mine once wanted me to come and do her yoga class. And so I did it. And then after she was like, "Do you have any feedback for me?" And I'm like, "Do you really want me to give it to you?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I go, "You didn't meditate before that, and you had never done that practice." And she's like, "How did you know that?" I said, "You were very dysregulated. Like I can feel it."
Wow.
And I said, "You had never put your body in those poses the way you did it. Like it didn't make sense." And it's like some people just go in and do a class and like they're not in a good state to do it. And so I'm super intentional. I don't do any leading of anything without like my own practice. I mean, I do a practice every day, but then I may do another like right before, just to go in calm.
I like that.
Super important.
Yeah, because they're going to attach to your nervous system. And so if I'm like this and all keyed up, they're not going to be able to relax.
Yeah.
I don't know what your question was. Did I answer it?
Oh, the next, yeah.
Maybe
No,
I answered it.
I was thinking about all the classes that I couldn't get a sub for that I had to go and teach. And I was like, "Ah!" you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm crazy right now. So just try to,
Yeah, you
try to,
feel like kind of frantic when that
yes.
happens.
But then after, I don't know, the warm up and like the first sequence, I usually I start to get into it, but like it takes me a minute to get there. But I just remember thinking that like, oh my God, I'm gonna ruin these people's class. And then by the end of it, I feel like we're all kind of
Well,
chill.
and I think most people probably don't know, maybe
Yeah.
can't tell, because a lot of people that come to yoga are dysregulated themselves. So, like, they're not going to see. But, for someone who like meditates, and I can kind of like, a friend of mine said, how can you tell people don't meditate? I'm like, by the way they talk and like what they're doing and stuff. And then I got her meditating. She's like, oh my God, now I can see it. Like if you're like in this calm state and then someone's like, like you can just tell.
Yes. Okay. So this is a similar question
Okay.
to one of the other ones that I asked. What is the most challenging group, or what has brought you to almost a breaking point during Nidra? Like where you almost broke script and was like, listen, you got to go.
I've never really had to do that because typically like I'll do certain things if I feel like people are kind of dysregulated in the practice, like they're not settling, I'll start doing more of certain things. But I mean, I've had like when I was first starting to teach Yoga Nidra, like I can't remember exactly when it was, but early on, I had a group that someone had me come for like work. It was like a work group, and everyone was going to do Yoga Nidra at their lunch. And that's kind of what I was saying, like when people don't want to do it. So this woman came in and she kind of threw a fit. She was like huffing and puffing. And I'm kind of like, she threw her mat down, and I'm getting nervous because I'm like, oh gosh, like, how's this going to go? And I was very new at it. And her boss says, she's like, I don't have time. Like, what's going on? She goes, I don't have time for this. And the boss says, none of us do. Like, we're going to lay down and do it. And it kind of like, which in theory, you probably shouldn't force someone to do it. But I was super nervous. Like I was like holding it. I kept watching her because I was like, she was very kind of reactive and volatile. So I thought she might get up in the middle of it and like disrupt the whole thing or say, I'm out of here. I'm not, like, I was kind of scared about what was going to happen. So I kept like looking at her. Like I was distracted doing it because I'm like reading, but I'm looking to make sure she's good. Anyway, at the end of it, guess who comes over? The lady. And she sits down next to me, and everyone was kind of packing up and leaving, and she just starts sobbing.
Oh.
And it's funny because when she was doing it, like kind of having the meltdown in the beginning before we actually started, I thought, oh, she really needs this because she was wound so tight. And like, those are the people that resist it, that really need it, that are, oh, I can't sit still, or oh, I can't do this. Like those are the ones that really need it more than other people who are there wanting it. So that's what I thought. Then she comes up and she starts crying and she goes, that was better than therapy. Like, what did you do? And she was like, did you hypnotize me? And I was like, no, I don't. And she was like, when you were saying this and like the visualization part, she's like, I mean, I was there with you on the journey. She was like, telling me stuff that had happened to her. And it ended up being fine. But it was probably my most stressful because I just didn't know what she was going to do or whether she was enjoying it but she did. And so that ended up being good.
I hope she continued it. She listens to you on Insight Timer every day. I'm sure. Could you imagine?
I don't even know. I didn't have it then. The Insight Timer came later, but yeah, I mean, Other than that, usually people that are coming want it. So everyone's like excited and like laying down, getting ready. So it's really only if someone doesn't really want to be there.
Like it. Well, that answers my last question as well. So, which was, how do you handle it when shit like that happens? You know, that one person. So that was her, and it does. I feel like definitely more times than not, that is what happens. They need it.
They need it. And I think it's about just making them feel safe and like giving them the freedom to leave. Like if they want to leave, like, you know, and making them feel like safe and like it's going to be okay. You know,
Yeah.
because I do this at work. They're choosing to come. But I do trainings we talked about last time in mindfulness. And, you know, sometimes they're like, they don't know what it is. And I try to explain what we're going to do. And then after they're like, oh my gosh, are we going to do that thing again? Like they always want the thing. I'm like, we'll do it at the end of the day. So I kind of end my trainings with that, just to kind of send them off in a good space, because it was a lot of mental during the day.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, does anybody else have any other questions for Ashley? No. All right. So I want you to talk about your retreat, and then I'll put the information down
Yes.
inside time and your retreat. So if you want to take us through when is it? What's it all about again?
June. It's a wellness, yoga / wellness. We're going to do mindfulness, meditation, yoga nidra. I'm taking all my sound bowls, singing bowls to Jamaica. So we're going to be doing sound baths. But we do yoga nidra oceanside. So no music, just the ocean sound, like on the beach. So yeah, it's June 22nd through 26th. It's like a Sunday through Thursday, quick 2-hour flight, and you're in paradise in Jamaica. And we stay at Jamaica Inn, which is like a 5-star luxury resort. But what's special about it and why I picked this place is there's no clocks, there's no kids, there's no TVs, there's no computers, there's no like elevators or partying going on. It's like designed for you basically for you to unplug, like a digital detox. And I mean, they intentionally don't have clocks around. Like you don't know what time it is for days. You're like wandering the beach. Like it's a private beach. We do yoga every morning at what's called Peter's Point, who is the owner who passed, who was really into mindfulness and was very excited. Like we were talking about it right before he died. And so the yoga studio is over the ocean. I can't see it, but everyone's looking out at it. You know, my back's to it. So we do more of a flow in the morning and meditation, and we taught wellness. And then you have the day to yourself for like the spa. They're number one, I think, in the Caribbean. They just won some award. But the spa is next level. There's no walls, no doors. You're over the ocean like this, like just feeling the breeze and listening to the ocean. It's amazing. And so we have the day to ourselves, and then we end the day with a second class, which is either yin and yoga nidra or yin and the sound bowls. This is new, where I'm going to have brought all the bowls. So we'll probably go into a room for that. We're figuring that out. And then, you know, we do like dinners together. You can do your own thing. You pretty much, it's not real scheduled with activities because it's all about slowing down and relaxing. We meditate, which is optional on the beach in the morning early. But I had about 10 people every morning meet me like before the class, and we would just sit on the beach and I'd take them through different types of meditations. And, you know, I make that optional in case people want to sleep in and then just go to class. So it's a meditation and then 2 yoga classes daily, and we kind of package it all. And yeah, anyone can come. And then it's deep yoga nidra in paradise. It's fun.
How many people typically?
So last year was my biggest group. I had 15. The year before I had 8. It was smaller. And so I'm not sure yet what this year I try to keep it. 15 was probably as big as I'd want to go. But we had a couple like people join last minute, like, oh, I'm bringing my boyfriend now, or oh, I want to bring my daughter. So it kind of kept building. But I try to keep it small. It's kind of intimate. It's a very small place. Like there's only like 40 rooms. Every room sees the ocean and has like a private veranda. And I said, no kids. I think I mentioned that a couple of times. So there's no like jumping and screaming. Like it is like very peaceful. We eat dinner like under the stars. There's no rooms, no walls anywhere in this hotel. Like when you walk into the lobby, you're looking at the ocean. It's all open. Breakfast open over the ocean. And I'm trying to think what else.
Do you do any off resort activities, hiking, waterfalls, any?
We don't. You have the option. Like one year we did like a glass bottom boat, but I get seasick. So other people went, I did not. I try not to schedule. Now if they want to do it, they can do it. Like the hotel will schedule it and do it. One year we did do the turtles though. We did leave the resort and we helped hatch the sea turtles, which was really cool. So that's the only time we've left. But typically we're at the spa or on the beach, just reading, relaxing. I try not to schedule stuff just because for the downtime portion. We do a little stuff around the resort. Like we went to the spa and they taught us how to make or how they make their scrubs because they get it from every like plant around there. So he showed us all the plants and then we made it. And we did the garden one day and like kind of got the fruit and saw where they grow everything. But if people wanted to do that, the hotel could do it because there is like a Dunn's River Falls is very near. And there's dolphins and I mean there's stuff if you want to do that.
Well, it sounds amazing.
It is. It's pretty. It's awesome. I mean I'm working, but I love it. Like it's
There's
really
worse
fun.
place to work.
Right. Right. I know. But it's an amazing place and the people are really amazing. I mean, they're really good to us. And we go, oh, that's what I was going to say. It's their slow season. So we pretty much have the hotel to ourselves. Their busy season is November through February and they're packed. So, there's a couple couples there. A couple people, but it's pretty quiet. It's usually we're the biggest group.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty intimate.
That's nice to have it. It makes it feel like a secluded island almost. You know what I mean? Like you're the only people on the entire island, but
it's a little like if you ever saw that show, Perfect Strangers. It said I'm not drugging people. Did y'all see that with Nicole?
Yeah, the Nicole Kidman.
When they go to that place and and they're doing wellness and yoga and meditation and stuff. Yeah, minus the drugging part of Perfect Strangers. No drugs.
Now I gotta go. I don't think I've seen that. I saw that other one with Channing Tatum. That was not
right. Yeah,
that was scary. But but okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 Perfect Strangers or Perfect Strangers.
I think you're right. It's 10 Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, and they're all going for like wellness, and things go awry.
That's good. Well, I mean, if they didn't go awry, then it would not be a great movie. But
that's true.
But in real life, it would be nice if just everything was common.
Yeah, so far I'm knocking on wood. The first two, it's like
how many years have you been doing this?
So this year will be my 3rd year.
Okay.
So I had one scheduled,
I hope it goes great.
Thank you. I had one scheduled the year COVID happened with Village Yoga, and then we had to cancel it. So then it took me, everything to recover. It took me a while to get it back up and running.
Yeah.
So last year was my second. This is my third year.
Gotcha.
So knock on wood, we haven't had any, a couple little missed flights, but people, it's been quickly recovered, and one lost bag on the way home. And
But that's
Oh,
typical.
good. On the way home. Yeah.
You can't.
on the way home, yeah, everyone's always had their stuff. Yeah, luckily it's been fine. I mean, it's nice. Like, we just stay on the resort and we chill and we relax and we breathe and do the yoga.
Do the yoga. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll get all this stuff up with the show notes at the end. It's going to be in the show notes, and I'll do a little pre thing for those who want to watch and all that. So we're good. Everybody good?
Everybody good.
Okay. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having me. It's
Thanks
good
for coming. And if you want to come on again, if you got anything else good coming up, we'll have you on again. That would be awesome.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll
Thank
see
you.
around.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.
Ashley does her Yin and Nidra on Monday nights. It's a beautiful place that is like an a la carte yoga place. No attachment.